I'm super excited for this one because not only do we have 12 new shortcuts, but a big announcement to take your shortcuts to the next level. I've built a recipe GPT that can take a recipe from any website and format it without all the cruft. Add tomorrow's forecast as an event to your calendar. Get notified when the temperature drops outside. Change your wallpaper at sunset or sunrise. And this first shortcut is a big one, my ultimate movie reminder list. So I've been iterating on this shortcut to add movies to a reminder list, and based on some suggestions from you, I've created a massive shortcut here that actually uses the movie database API. So I'm just going to show you what the shortcut does first, and then I'll explain. It starts by asking for a movie. So let's say you wanted to add one of the Dune movies to a reminders list. You just search for it, and this is using the movie database API to pull a list of movies that match the title. I've included the title, year of the movie, and a short synopsis to help you know this is the movie you want to pick. I'm going to tap Dune Part 2, then it's going to pull information from the movie database and also show you where this movie is streaming. Now on this screen, if you want to stream it on one of these services or rent it, you'll tap and hold on the icon, tap Copy, and now this is going to create an item in your reminders with a link to stream the movie on that service. Now if I go to my reminders, I have a list here for movies, and you'll see all these entries where I've been testing the shortcut, and you'll see at the bottom it added Dune Part 2 with the year, a little text to tell you where you can stream this movie, and a link directly to that movie on that service. When you tap that link, you'll be brought right to the movie to hit play. And this works with all the different services, Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, and when you add movies, even if it's something you want to rent, just tap the link in the reminder and it will bring you to that movie in Apple TV Plus to rent or stream on your service of choice. Now here's the exciting part. I could not have built this shortcut on my own. It's using things like dictionary values and API keys that I just wasn't familiar with. So I created a custom GPT specifically trained to help me build shortcuts. You'll see here, this is actually the conversation I had about the movie database API. I was doing this all weekend. But this custom GPT helped me build this shortcut, and I've made it so you can use it too. If you join my shortcuts community at create.beard.fm, this is now an added benefit for paying members. You can join the community for free, and you get access to things like automation chat and community shortcuts. But for all those already supporting the community, which there's over 100 of you, thank you so much for doing it. Now you have the added benefit of the Shortcuts GPT. And when you go to this space, you'll see this post with a link to use that custom Shortcuts GPT. Not only did it help me build this shortcut, but I'm going to be continually training it over the coming months, so it's going to get even more useful to help you build advanced shortcuts. So if you want to get access to my Shortcuts GPT, go to create.beard.fm, you'll see my community here, and you'll see the Shortcuts GPT space. It's locked behind the paywall, but once you join the community, you'll have access immediately. So I'm super excited about that. That's the Shortcuts GPT. Now, one word about this shortcut. Because this is using the movie database API, I'm going to share the link to the shortcut that just works out of the box using my API key. The movie database has a 50 calls per second maximum. So if this video blows up and there's literally thousands of you using the shortcut at the same time, it might stop working. So I'm also going to put down in the video description a link to this. It's a version of the shortcut where you can put your own API key. Now that might sound daunting, but getting the API key from the movie database is completely free. I'll put a link to this page for the movie database. You basically create an account, and once you log in, you can generate your own API key. Then you'll be able to use the shortcut as much as you want, and there shouldn't be any limits. So you can download both in the video description below and all the other shortcuts I'm about to show you, which there were some amazing ones from the community requests and YouTube comments. So let's get to those. This next request from the community was they wanted to add a sporting event to their calendar with the date and the teams that were playing when they're looking at it on a website. So what this shortcut does is it takes a screenshot, but doesn't save it to your photo library. Pulls the text from that screenshot, and I have a ChatGPT prompt here that basically parses the information and can create a calendar event or a reminder, depending on your choice, with the teams playing as the title and the date and time in the calendar or reminder. This is a great shortcut to program to the action button or the back tap on your iPhone. So here I have it as the action button. And now whenever I'm looking at a website that has a sporting event with a date and time and the teams, I'm going to press the action button to run this shortcut. And remember, you need the ChatGPT app installed and logged in on your phone. But you'll see it took the screenshot. It's pulling the text from that screenshot, sending it to ChatGPT to parse it with dates and times. And now you'll see it's going to create an event with the team names in the event title, the date and time of the event, all right here, and you can add it to your calendar. You can also bypass that step of manually putting on your calendar by expanding this last action and just turning off Show Compose Sheet. Now I also had an add reminder action here. You can remove that if you don't want a reminder, but as you can see from the shortcut that I just ran, it can also create a reminder with the date and time, which is an alert of when that game starts. All right, I have another big one here for shortcut number 3. I call it my recipe GPT. Oftentimes when you see a recipe on a website, there's a whole bunch of SEO cruft and all that kind of stuff. And so what this does is parses the text of the page you're looking at. I have a prompt here for ChatGPT to format that in a certain way, and then adds the recipe to your note with a nice little image. Again, you have to have the ChatGPT app installed on your phone, but let's go to our recipe website. And let's say I'm looking at a recipe, but it's really long. There's a bunch of additional information in there I don't need, but I can just hit the share button, go down to my recipe GPT, which should be here in your share sheet. And when I run it, it's going to pull the information, format it with ingredient lists, pull out the tips and substitutions separately. Then to make it look nice, it's actually pulling all the images from the page, but you could find the image you want to use in the note that's about to be created. Tap and hold right here, and when you see the little menu come up, tap copy, and it will use that image in the note it's about to create. I'll hit done, and now we have a nice note here, the title of the recipe from the website automatically added as the note title. You have an image here of the recipe, and now you have the ingredients separated out, the recipe steps, any substitution information, and overall tips on the recipe, and it's saved in your notes. Now I had this shortcut saving notes to a list called recipes, but you can change that folder name right here if you have a different list that you'd like to add it to. All right, let's get into some specific requests from the community. This one was from Hendrik, and he wanted an alarm to be created anytime he has an event in his calendar that's his early shift. He also wants to delete any previous alarms that might be labeled work or leave for work. And he also wants the travel time to a specific location calculated so there's another alarm created for when he actually needs to leave to get there on time. Now you can create an automation with this shortcut that runs every evening at a certain time, and it will only create the alarms if there's a calendar event that has any value, and you can choose your calendar right here. So I would add all your early shifts as events to a specific calendar, and that's what you would choose here. So you can see here I have an event called early shift, and it starts at 6 a.m. So if I were to run this shortcut, you'll see it's calculating the distance to the driving time to that location, and now you'll see 2 alarms were created. He wanted an alarm 75 minutes before the shift started, so that's his wake-up call, and there's also an alarm created that calculated the distance to his work location, and that alarm is called leave for work. And what's great is every time the shortcut runs, it's automatically going to delete the previous alarms. So if I were to run this shortcut again, it's going to ask if I want to delete them. I'll tap delete, and now I'm not going to have a bunch of duplicate alarms in my clock. It'll just keep my work and leave for work alarms whenever I need them. And Hendrik or whoever else, if you'd like to use this shortcut, the driving time to the specific location, I have Amalie Arena here, but just tap this part of the shortcut and choose a different location, your work location, and then it will calculate the travel time from your current location to the place you choose here. All right, this next shortcut was from Elliot in a YouTube comment. He wanted a shortcut that created an alarm and enabled Do Not Disturb mode, but then turns off Do Not Disturb when the alarm goes off. So this is going to find any alarms called Wake Up. It's going to delete previous versions of it so you don't have duplicates in your clock. It's going to ask you to set a time, then it's automatically going to create an alarm for that time, and it's going to turn on Do Not Disturb focus mode from now until the time that you choose. So if I run this shortcut, we're going to choose a date and time. We'll do a specified date. Let's do tomorrow, 9:14 a.m. I'll hit done, and it's automatically going to create that alarm. We can go back to our clock app. There's our 9:14 alarm, and you'll see Do Not Disturb also enabled. There's a little moon icon, and if I go to the focus mode, you'll see Do Not Disturb is enabled until tomorrow at 9:13 a.m., which is when the alarm was scheduled for. All right, ODocX on Threads wanted to create calendar events with tomorrow's high and low temperature from the forecast as the title of the event. So this shortcut gets the forecast at your current location, gets the high and low temperature, and it gets the first item from these conditions, which will be tomorrow, the next forecasted high and low. And then it's going to create a calendar event with the high and low temperature as the event title. So when I run this shortcut, you'll see it creates the event with the high and low temperature. Then you can quickly add this, or if you want it to happen automatically, maybe you set this as an automation overnight, expand the bottom action. You'll see all day is toggled on, so this is an all day event, and just toggle off show compose sheet, and it will create this event automatically. All right, next someone asked if you could toggle reader mode with a shortcut, and there actually is an action called toggle Safari reader. Now when you're in Safari, you can actually just enable reader mode by long pressing on this icon down here, and you're in reader mode. but I do find sometimes that tap target can be finicky, or if you want to program it to your action button, I've created another shortcut here, and this is using the new iOS 18.2 Get Current App action. So this is going to get the current app, and if I'm in Safari, it's going to toggle Safari Reader. Instead of show, I'm going to choose toggle. Otherwise, and this is my main use case for the action button, it's going to seek forward by 3 minutes because I listen to a lot of podcasts and ads are getting really long. So now I can have my action button either toggle reader mode or skip forward by 3 minutes if I'm not in Safari. So let's program this to our action button. I called this the reader or seek action. So now if I'm in Safari, if I press the action button, it's automatically going to toggle reader mode on. Press it again, reader mode's off. But if I'm not in Safari, let's say I'm listening to a podcast, this is Primary Technology, my tech show with Jason Aten. You should totally subscribe, link above and in the description below. But now if I click the action button, you'll see it skips forward 3 minutes because I'm not in Safari. Next up, this was from a comment on YouTube from B. Gadizli. He wanted to be able to enable or disable connectivity on his iPhone when he connects it to a charger, but only after a certain time. So I've created 2 shortcuts here. One is called Disable Connectivity, one is Enable. So you can download both in the video description below. And this is the number you'll want to change. If you only want these automations to run after, say, 6 p.m., change this number to 18. Uses the 24-hour timescale. I'm going to put this as 8 because I want it to run right now. But we're going to create an automation. So when I plug my phone into charge, it's going to disable all this connectivity. And then we can create a second automation that when we take our phone off the charger, it's going to turn it all back on. So let's go to the Automations tab and create these. I'll hit the plus button, go down, and you'll see Charger right here is an automation trigger. So when Charger is connected, we want this to run immediately. Hit Next, New Blank Automation, and then we're going to choose Disable Connectivity. We'll hit Done, and let's create one more automation. Again, go down to Charger. We want this to be when Charger is disconnected, run immediately, New Blank Automation, run shortcut again, and we'll search for our Enable Connectivity shortcut. I'll hit Done. Now, because it's after 8 a.m., which is the time I set in the shortcut, when I plug my phone into charge, that shortcut is going to run in the background, and you'll see all the connectivity just disabled. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular data is now off as well. But when I take my phone off the charger, the automation is going to run in the background. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular is now activated. All right, this next shortcut is from Brandon in the Circle community, and he wanted a notification when the temperature dropped below a certain temp on one of his HomeKit sensors. Now this can be done using automations here in Shortcut and the Pushcuts app, which I talked about in the last Shortcuts video, and I'll link that above. I'm going to create a new automation here, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to Create Home Automation. When I do that, I can choose when a sensor detects something, and if you have something that detects a temperature, which includes HomePods now, by the way, you see these temperature sensors here in my studio are actually my big HomePod Gen 2s. HomePod Mini has this temperature sensor as well. I'll choose a temperature sensor, hit Next, and you can choose here when it drops below or rises above a certain degree. Maybe I'll choose rises above 80 degrees. Getting a little too hot. Time any. You can choose when people are home or not. Hit Next, and then you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and you're going to tap Convert to Shortcut. When you do this, you can X out of that first action, and we only need one action here, which is the Get Contents of URL. Now, what we're going to do is go over to Pushcuts, which again, Pushcuts is free to use with just 3 automations. I have more than 3, so I started paying for it, but if you just want 3 automations, you can do that for free. I'm going to tap the plus icon. We'll title this Temp Above. I'm going to delete this part of the notification, and all I'm going to do right here is Temp Above 80 in Studio. And so that's what's actually going to be the text that shows in the notification. When I tap Add here on the Pushcut, I'm going to get a URL. When I copy the URL down here, copy URL, I go back to my shortcut, I'll tap in the box right here and paste that URL, and now you're done. Now you'll get a notification from the Pushcuts app when the temperature rises above that certain temperature. I can even test this by running the play button, and let's see if that did send me a notification from Pushcuts, and sure enough, there it is, temp above 80 degrees in the studio. Hit Next. You can title this automation because it's a HomeKit automation, and now you'll get a notification every time the temperature drops above or below that number. All right, next, this YouTube comment requested a shortcut for the action button that whenever they're home, it's going to show a menu like the action button menu, but when they're not home, it's going to open the camera app. You'll need to get your current location, add an if statement, and this if statement is what you need to play around with. I've found that if I put my local street name here in this box, then it works properly. If the phone sees that I'm here on this street, it will run this, and if I'm not home, it'll run the otherwise. So I'm gonna put my street name here and let's test it out. Now you'll be able to download this shortcut without anything in that location field, and you can put your own home street. Now if I run this shortcut, it finds my current location, and because I'm home, it'll show me a menu that I created. Now I'm gonna change it to a street that's not mine, something like Main Street, and now if I run the shortcut, it should open the camera app to photos. I'll run this shortcut, and sure enough, it opened the camera. Then you can map this to the action button and it will either open a menu or the camera app depending on your location. Remember, just put your home street name. I leave off the number. I just do the street name in this box right here and it'll work for you. All right, last two. This was from Nico and he does grocery shopping but wants to be able to send a couple pictures to his spouse to make sure he's choosing the right item. So what this shortcut does is it will actually take 2 photos, you'll manually tap the shutter button, and then it's gonna send another text that says which is the right one, and tap here to add the same recipient. This way it all happens automatically. Then you can expand these and toggle off show when run, and it'll all happen in seconds. So when I run this shortcut, it opens the camera, and you'll see it actually knows I need to take 2 photos. So I'll tap the first photo, item 1, then I'll tap to take the second photo, item 2, and now it's automatically gonna send those 2 photos to the recipient. You'll see it shows the text message here, but again, this can happen automatically if you toggle that off. So it sends the message with those 2 images and then sends another message with which is the right one. Remember, choose your recipient here and then toggle off show and run, and it'll happen really fast. All right, and finally, Nick Fitzpatrick and others from the community wanted to know, how can I change my wallpaper at sunset? I'm gonna show you how to do it just using the Automations tab. If I go to the Automations tab, tap the plus button, let's choose time of day. We can choose sunset right here. You can also choose minutes before, after, or exactly at sunset. I'll choose exactly sunset, daily, and we want this to run immediately. Don't notify when run. I'll tap next, new blank automation, and then search for the action wallpaper. Now there's a couple actions here to choose from. I'm gonna do set wallpaper photo, and then you need to choose which focus mode or wallpaper you're going to change. This is a part that trips a lot of people up. Remember, since iOS 17, I believe, you have multiple lock screen, home screen pairs. So choose the home screen, and this also changes depending on focus mode. I'll get to that in a second. So choose the wallpaper pair you want to adjust, then tap images, and you can choose, and then here you have to choose the input. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't just let you choose a photo or a file automatically. So typically what I do is I actually have all my wallpapers saved in a file folder in iCloud. So I can add a file action. I'm actually going to drag it above the wallpaper action. And now I can navigate to my wallpapers. You'll see I have a bunch of wallpaper images here. It's helpful to use an iCloud folder. This way, if you add something on your Mac or something changes, it'll sync properly. You choose an image here. I'll tap open. And now you'll see the action automatically pulled from the file. So now at sunset, it's going to change the wallpaper of this wallpaper pair to the file that I had specified. And you can also choose whether you want it to change the lock screen and home screen, or you can choose just one or the other and blur the version that's on your home screen using this toggle. Now, if you wanted to pull a photo instead, you could search for a photo action, but this is a little less precise. You'll have to use something like the Find Photos action, and then maybe choose an album that you've created with different wallpapers, and you can specify it that way. But I find using the File action as an image file is the most consistent when changing wallpapers. So this is how you would do it to just change your wallpaper. But someone else was asking, how do I change my wallpaper and my home screen layout at a certain time of day? And for that, my friend, you need to use focus modes. Now I have a bunch of focus modes set up, but you can do that by going to the settings and then scroll down to where it says focus. Then here under focus, there's a bunch of focus modes. If you don't want to adjust notifications and all that, you can just use this to switch your home screen and wallpaper. So you'll see I'm in my filming focus mode now, and here I can actually choose a wallpaper and home screen pair, a home screen layout, and even choose the watch face that shows up when this focus mode is active. This is how I change my wallpapers. So you'll see right now I'm in my filming focus mode, but if I disable filming, then I just have a default layout for my home screen. This is what no focus mode looks like. Then on the weekends, when that focus mode is active, I have a different home screen layout and a different lock screen image and wallpaper. So I find focus modes to be the best way to adjust my wallpaper and home screen layout. And then you can have focus modes enable at a certain time of day. So when I go to my evening focus mode, I actually have that enabled every day at 6 p.m. And when you add the schedule, you can also choose time. Now, when you do the focus mode schedule, you do have to choose a specific time instead of sunrise or sunset. So if you wanted to do it by sunset and focus mode, That you can do in Shortcuts. And for that, I can go to Shortcuts here. Let's go to the Automations tab again here in the middle, plus time of day. Let's do sunset. We want this to happen daily and run immediately, no notification. We'll hit next, new blank automation. And now we just search for focus. And you want the action here that says set focus. Then you can have set. So now we want to turn. Choose the focus mode where you designed your home screen and wallpaper. I'll say weekend, turn weekend on, and then you can choose until. You can choose to manually turn it off or to turn it off by a certain time. So maybe 7 a.m. the next day, or even when you leave a location, like when you leave home. And when you hit done, now this focus mode will be activated every day at sunset. I've been meaning to do a deep dive video on focus mode specifically, so if you want to see that, let me know in the comments below, and keep dropping your shortcuts requests down in the YouTube comments, and I would love for you to join my community at create.beard.fm. It's free to join. I look at all my DMs there and comments, and I've been building shortcuts from your requests there as well. But if you'd like to access my Shortcuts GPT and also my Shortcuts database, where you can search for shortcuts, browse by device or topic, then you can support this channel and the community at $5 a month. Again, just go to create.beard.fm and you can click that Shortcuts GPT down there in the sidebar and you can start supporting the community today. Thank you all for an amazing year. This is the end of 2024 as I make this, and it's just been incredible. There's over 550 of you in the community, at least when I record this. I imagine there'll be many more after this video, and over 100 already supporting the community, so thank you so much. If you didn't see my last Shortcuts video, I'll link it right up here. And if you want to see maybe more about the action button shortcuts, I've done multiple videos on that, including menus, shortcuts folders, and just making the action button more useful. You can check out one of those videos right up here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.